Hello and welcome to the Exam 2 review. So here I'm going to review so you have get a jump start on the exam. So let's find out when that exam is due. I have to get into Blackboard here. And I know you can't see the full screen, but it's alright. And I'm just going to double check syllabus here, and I'm going to let's see, here's the syllabus. Whoops. Alright, so here we go. Week 11, Exam 2 from syllabus covers chapters 6, 8, and 9. Okay, so let me write that. It's an important thing for everybody. It's a Week 11, Test 2, Wednesday, November 6th, covering chapters 6, 8, 9 from the online textbook. Okay. And the test will have 25 multiple choice questions and 2 problems. Here's a hint, similar to the homework or classwork sheets. So, anything that we've done on a classwork sheet or a homework for this class could show up in the problem section of the exam. Keep that in mind. How much is the exam worth? This exam is worth 30 points. So, just as big as the first exam. Here's another big question I get. Is this test cumulative? No, it's focusing on chapters 6, 7. Nope, 6, 8, and 9. Almost at 7. No 7. Chapter 6, 8, and 9 is the exam from our online textbook that we do most of our homework from. And it's going to be 25 multiple choice questions, 2 big problems at the end that generally are worth, each problem is worth 10% of the grade, so 20% for the problems and 80% for the questions. The test is not cumulative, and let's start to review the topics on the test. Okay, so, and remember, my goal is to help everyone get an A. So I want you to get an A. I have no problem with you getting an A. But how do you get this A on the exam? Well, you took the first exam, and you should realize from the first exam that there are questions are broken up to 2 categories, quantitative and qualitative, or numbers and formulas, and understanding of the material. So most people, in going back and analyzing the results of the exam, most people did okay on the calculations. But I mean, seriously, people, I let you bring a cheat sheet to the test. So how can you really get these problems wrong? 1 page, 8.5 by 11 inches. And sign there, so it reads right. 8.5 by 11 inches, 1 page, front and back. Okay, so that is your. You are again allowed to bring a cheat sheet. It's going to be 1 page, 8.5 by 11, standard paper format, front and back, whatever you want to put on it. I don't care. Now the problem was, people got a little too relaxed because they figured, I have everything on this cheat sheet, I don't need to study anything. And you understand from the first exam, it's not just about having everything on a formula sheet. It's about having being proficient in the work. Don't teach yourself how to do the calculations or don't try to teach yourself during the exam. You have to come in knowing it. You have to come in ready for a race. The test is one-parter race that if you can't sit there and waste a lot of time because you're unprepared. If you're prepared, you can do the test on time. If you're not prepared, it's going to take you too longer. You won't be able to finish. So that's why you need to study, and you need to read each chapter again, or for some of you, the first time. Do the homework problems again, and also do the past work handouts again. That's going to help you. When you read the chapters, you don't just read the chapters, you read the chapters again, and you also study the chapter material. And a lot of people have problems on the first test in interpreting and understanding the concepts of these chapters. So it's not just about numbers and calculations. That's a good part of the exam, probably 50% or more. A bigger and more important part is understanding a lot of the concepts and a lot of the verbal and the descriptions of what they're talking about in these chapters. They're not very long chapters, so it's not like I'm asking you to memorize information on 100 pages. They're 3 relatively short chapters. But if you reread and re-study the chapters, do the homeworks again, do the class handouts again, you should be in good shape for the exam. And that's going to help out a great deal. So it's really the effort you put into studying for this exam. This class is no joke. It's really one of the harder or hardest business classes you're going to take. So you really got to put the extra effort in because it's not an easy subject. It's a difficult subject that many people have a hard time working with. And you have to agree that the instruction in the class is going, I wouldn't say at a very fast pace. I think it's going at a very a slower pace to make sure that everybody gets the material more than once, either through examples, PowerPoint slides, classwork, handouts, homework. So if you've been participating every week during the class, coming to class, which I've noticed, and many of you have stopped coming to the class since the first exam, big mistake. You've been coming to the class, you've been reading the chapters, you've been doing the work in class, and you've been doing the homeworks honestly. That's all a big help to doing well in this exam. So, and it's also, I'll give you a big hint. Here's a big hint. Big hint. And I need to make this more obvious here. So I'm giving you a big hint. There will be word problems on the test. So some of the questions will be, they'll ask you to calculate, specifically in the area of, Chapter 8, Time, Value, and Money. So there'll be word-like type questions on that, and also cost of capital. Okay, so let's get into the topics on the exam. So I'm going to go through the exam and give you some of the top topics that you will see reappearing on your test. Okay, so all right, I'm just checking things out. Let's see. So we're going to have some questions on forecasting approaches. And we're going to have some questions, more questions on sales forecasts. And remember, forecasting is something you did in the Zoom simulation, and this is part of Chapter 6, where we did pro forma financial statements. So sales forecast, there's questions on that. And there's also, of course, questions on pro forma financial statements from that chapter. I will ask questions about the concept of additional funds needed, debt ratio. The debt ratio will be talked about in relationship to additional funds needed. So, just a heads up. Balancing. Balancing problem, balancing, I say issue, not a calculation problem, a balancing issue in terms of forecasting, which relates to pro forma financial statement. That's my new abbreviation because I don't feel like typing that out again. Professor Nugent, you're lazy. Yes, that could be true. Let's see. I'm more like tired. I'm still working on my first cup of coffee here. It's good coffee. All right. Where am I? Oh, here I am. Next topic. Spontaneously changing spontaneously changing balance sheet and income statement accounts. And in relationship to sales. So again, chapter 6, spontaneous assets, spontaneous liabilities, and how are they related to changes in sales, and which accounts are more affected and which accounts are least affected. All right, so here is, we have new questions on preferred dividends. Whoops. Sorry about that. So, no preferred dividends, how to calculate the cost of preferred dividends is from Chapter 9. And so, there is a couple questions on preferred dividends. So, also look up what are preferred dividends? What's the meaning of those? Okay. You should know how to calculate monthly loan payments. Saving for retirement, time value of money problem. This is usually future value of annuity type of problem. I save so much a month, how much am I going to have at the end of retirement? Know how to calculate time value of money from Chapter 8. And we're talking about present value of annuity, future value, and future value of annuity problems. Know how to calculate those. I suggest you write those formulas down on your formula sheet you're bringing. And we have a lot of word types of problems on this. That would be, loan type of problems, savings, as well as the regular, more standard type of problems. Should also be familiar with annuity due and ordinary time value problems. Remember, annuity due is the payments are made in the beginning, so you have an extra year of interest on them, and an ordinary annuity payments are made at the end of the year, so you don't have to make an extra payment, extra interest payment on them. So that's a big difference, and that's really designated by multiplying 1 plus k one additional time on the answer. If you don't know exactly what that means, you missed that class, so look that up in the textbook. Okay. Let's see here. What else do we have? I see a lot of retirement and a lot of loan types of problems. These are the payment problems from both future value and time value. How much do I have to pay each year to save up 25,000? So that would be, future value of a payment type of question. Or, I want to buy a car or a house, and how much would be my monthly payments on that? And that would be a present value of payment problem. So those are two additional formulas we went over. Also, there is a question on perpetuity, so you should be familiar with that. You should be familiar with quarterly, monthly, semi-annual interest rates calculation. So what happens if they give you an annual interest rate, but they ask you to calculate the problem monthly, semi-annually, or quarterly? What do you do? How do you solve that? That's a time value of money problem. We went over that pretty extensively. So if they give you a question and they state an annual rate, and they ask you to calculate something monthly, you have to divide that rate by 12 to get the new interest rate that you want to use for that level. So we also there's also some questions from cost of capital. So you need to know how to calculate cost of equity, preferred stock, after tax debt. So the big three areas. And when we talk about equity, you should be familiar with, new equity. You should be familiar with calculating equity if you have to use a capital asset pricing model. So cost of equity calculations, you definitely will need those formulas. You should know what the basics of capital asset pricing model is and when you would use it. You should know what a WACC is, weighted average cost of capital, the concept of it, not just the calculation. And when it comes to the cost of capital, this is an additional one you should be familiar with. What's called the internal common equity. I should first be able to spell it correctly. But internal common equity, that's a concept type question that you should be familiar. What is that? I don't know. It's for you to look up and for me to know, I guess. All right, so those are the big topics on the test. A big hint, there'll be word problems, especially with time value. So, nothing crazy, but, it's going to be stated in a sort of like the homework. All right. So for the problems can come from any of the homework, from chapter 6, 8, or 9 problems. And I will give you a sheet. You'll do the problems by hand. I can tell you that there'll be 2 problems, and some of the problems I have done half or more of the work for you, so you can so it's speedier to finish it. And so I'll leave that up to you to figure out what to study for that. But I gave you that big hint up here that we have cut off some of the Hold on while I adjust this. Let me adjust this a little bit. All right. So read each chapter again, study the chapter material, do the homework problems again, and also do the class handouts, because I have a tendency of making the problems at the end of the test be from at least one of them from the class handouts. Could possibly be two of them, and it could also be questions in the homework, or maybe even questions from the Barron's book. That's the least likely scenario, but it's not. I'm not saying it's impossible. Okay, so there you have it. You have all the information you need to know to do great on this exam. You have the topics on the exam. I clued you in some key formulas and topics and gave you a study strategy. So now it's just up to you to put the effort in. And I want to see everyone get a good grade in this exam. And as always, any question that the majority of the class gets wrong that I feel is a misleading question or a question that is just wrong somehow, I will give those points back on that question. So that's how, if you felt like I got a much better score than I thought I would have on the last exam, that's because I gave back at least 5 questions to everybody that were, two of them were flat out wrong, and 3 of them were just kind of confusing. So that's how I make the test fair. I don't curve, but anything I see that's unfair in the test, I will go back and fix before I give you the grade. Okay, so that's it for this. I'm going to post this any second now. So good luck with the exam, and any questions you have, you can ask Monday. So Monday we're finishing chapter 9, going over the simulation, and answering any questions about the exam. Okay, good luck, and goodbye.